site that I chose was the House of Screams, which is the place where people had been tortured for many years by Jon Burge and people under his command. It is right off of 91st and Cottage Grove. And I felt that that history needed to be remembered by people in the community. I was standing outside of this particular former police station. It is now a community center. And talking to one of the Burge survivors. And I had just gotten back from South Africa, where they have turned many places that had been torture sites into public memorials. And I asked this particular person, I said, what do you think about this becoming the Burge Memorial Site? And he said, I'm not against it. He said, but you need to know that I would never go into it because of what happened to me there. And so that gave me a whole different perspective on how the particular site could be used in terms of history, but how we needed to create another memorial site that wouldn't traumatize the survivors of Jon Burge. The first time I heard about Jon Burge was after a police officer had been killed in the 80s, and they were looking for the Wilson brothers because they said the Wilson brothers were responsible for it. And I was living on 90th and Laughlin at the time, and they actually pretty much terrorized the community in that neighborhood. They gave a description of the Wilson brothers, and my family, my brothers, were still living in Dixmoor, and I told them they couldn't come and visit me because what so many Black men fit the description, 5'8" to 5'10", 150 to 175 pounds. So I was like, no, you all can't come in the city because they're tearing the city up, looking for the people who they claim, killed these police officers. So that's the first time that I had any kind of knowledge of what was happening in terms of police misconduct in this city. So for a number of years, I was involved in a number of movements to get justice, especially for African Americans who had been mistreated by the criminal justice system. So I worked on the campaign in the death penalty to free the Death Row 10. I was part of an organization that was created by an incredible attorney and activist by the name of Standish Willis. He started the organization, the Committee to Free Mumia and Aaron Patterson. I met him in the early 90s. And my husband and I started going to the meetings and got involved in the activism to free Aaron Patterson from death row. Then the Committee to Free Mumia and Aaron Patterson turned into Blacks Against Police Torture. And I was a member of that and continue to be a member of Blacks Against Police Torture. I became part of the Chicago Torture Justice Memorial because we were really fighting for reparations. I was asked to create a piece for the DuSable Museum exhibition called The Citizens Picnic, which was on lynching in America. And so I created two pieces. One, James Cameron, who survived a lynching at the age of 15 in the 1930s. And when he survived the lynching, the other two people who have been charged with murder and rape were actually killed during the lynching. And someone in the middle of him hanging said, cut the boy down. He didn't do anything. And so they actually cut him down. And I went to the Black Holocaust Museum in Milwaukee that he founded, and he was there. And so I created a quilt to honor him because his story is so powerful, and he was such an incredible human being. After creating those pieces, I really went back to just creating art for my home, family members as gifts, and then Trayvon Martin was killed. And so I created a quilt that I could take with me to the protest as a protest banner. And so from there, I began to really quilt from the perspective of an African American woman and mother. And so all of my quilts come from that perspective of what issues are impacting me and my community.